I just want to make a couple of comments in relation to the bill that we will put into the Parliament next week. This is very much like an insurance policy. We certainly hope that we don't have to draw down on it. We hope that we don't have to make a claim against it. And I can assure all Victorians, regardless of where they live, regardless of their views on any matter, it doesn't matter, it's across the board, across the whole of the state. These restrictions will be in place for not one day longer than they need to be. And the extension just brings us into line, in fact still has us, I think, in a preferred position to many other states. Other states are able to extend and extend and extend further. They don't have any limits. We under these arrangements will simply continue the existing set of tools, if you like, the practical tools that we can draw on based on the best of medical advice. We would be able to extend the state of emergency in 4-week blocks, and there would need to be fresh advice and a fresh case mounted, and we'd have to be, we would have to continue to reaffirm that that was the appropriate thing to do. They're not the rules, as I said yesterday, I think very clearly, but I'll make the point again. This is not in relation to curfews, this is not in relation to stage 4. These are many of the rules that we have had to become particularly familiar with, and they're the sorts of rules that will be here potentially for a long time. Keeping your distance, washing your hands, staying in your own home if you've got this virus. I'd love to think that this virus would end on the 13th of next month. It's not going to. Therefore, we need to have those tools, that insurance policy, so that if we have to make a claim against it, if we have to continue, not all, but some of these rules into the back end of this year, next year, well then no one will do that by choice. We would do it because that's what the public health experts told us we needed to do. Unless we have a legal framework that sits behind that, then we won't be able to say to a publican, you can have 50 people in your pub. We won't be able to say to a big and, for the purposes of COVID-19, a dangerous workplace, you can stay open, but you will need to have a series of rules, a series of plans and processes to make sure that you're keeping your staff and the community safe. All of those things come from the state of emergency. It'll be in place not a day longer than it needs to be. I think I went to this in quite some detail yesterday, but again, just for the purposes of absolute clarity, it will be extended on advice no more than 4 weeks at a time, and if it's only required for 2 or 3 or 4 blocks of 4 weeks, then that's the decision that would be made. No more, no less than what we have currently done. But I just again want to make the point that they relate in the main, in fact almost exclusively, they're stage 3 and stage 2 type of rules, not stage 4. That is not a function of any changes we're making to the law. That is not a function of the Public Health and Wellbeing Act. That is a different set of rules, a different set of arrangements, because right now, in the midst of a second wave, but now on that downslope, they are appropriate rules. They will not be necessary in the months to come, and that's why the changes that we foreshadowed yesterday are not, they're completely separate issues. Ultimately, we are all going to have some COVID-19 rules until we get a vaccine. Between now and then, and hopefully that's a shorter time rather than a longer time, we have to make sure that people who, for instance, test positive, stay at home and keep everyone else safe. We have to make sure that we have various rules that are simple, that are logical, and that are working. They will be a feature for months to come, but not the state of disaster provisions, not the curfew and the stage 4 lockdown. That is about dealing with a second wave. Once we are past that second wave, in order to open up, in order to start the rebuilding process, we'll still need rules in place. Otherwise, we simply wouldn't be able to open up. I hope that's clarified matters. This is a matter for the Parliament. We'll engage in good faith with all parties, and we'll see what the Parliament, how things run in the Parliament next week, and what outcome the Parliament votes for. But that's ultimately the way our democratic system operates. These are extraordinary times, though, and I'd love to think that there were no need for any rules whatsoever, and we could go back to normal next week, next month, or the month after that. But until we get a vaccine, there's going to need to be rules. There's going to need to be a system and a framework to keep us safe and to allow us to open up. I think the chances of me saying to the Chief Health Officer, look, there's no rules, I haven't got the power to impose any rules, but let's open up now, shall we? I think the answer to that would be no. So logic tells you we just need to stay the course on this. And that's why I'm so proud and so grateful to every single Victorian who is. Anybody who needs any further clarification, I hope that provides it to them.